A new effort is underway to protect the teaching of African American history here in Arkansas. It's an issue that's been made controversial since the start of this school year.
Wake Up Central's Journey Taylor takes a close look at how members of the community believe this history is critical for students and society. It's a new morning original. Stories you see first here on Wake Up Central.
When I hear people wanting to repackage or to represent American history, it disturbs me in a way that I don't quite have words for.
Dr. Philip L. Pointer Sr. is the senior pastor of St. Mark Baptist Church, one of the largest Baptist churches in the state of Arkansas. He says there is a responsibility each of us have to continue to perpetuate that right knowledge, the right handing down of history without trying to adjust the narratives to fit our comfort levels.
It will ignore the pain that people are presently experiencing, and then it won't allow us to address the systems that need to be addressed in order to bring about the true promise of America, which is liberty and justice for all.
It was just days before the first day of school when the Arkansas Department of Education announced that AP African American Studies would not count towards graduation. The department said it was reviewing the course for possible indoctrination.
The idea that anything that has to do with the racial history of the nation is critical race theory, which is a misnomer.
And Dr. John Kirk, distinguished professor of history at UA Little Rock, also agrees perception is playing a role.
I think a lot of it has to do with the content or perceived content of the classes.
Kirk, originally from London, has studied African American history for decades. He says what we are seeing when it comes to lawmakers questioning if and how African American history is taught isn't unique to the times we are living in.
In the South, in particular in textbooks, the way that Reconstruction was taught, for example, has shifted dramatically over the years. Indeed, one of the founding texts in African American history is W.B. Du Bois's book, Black Reconstruction, which actively tried to challenge the way that Reconstruction and African Americans were presented in Southern textbooks.
And now for decades, curricula has been criticized for not focusing on the history of all.
The very fact that it is sort of labeled as something separate from American history in itself speaks to the way that that history has been excluded from mainstream histories of American history in the past.
Community members are stepping in to teach up-and-coming scholars.
The Black church in America has always taught African American history.
Pointer says as a pastor, professor, and parent, it is his responsibility to ensure those he has responsibility for are properly informed.
So the idea is that we can't be spiritual without being social. So St. Mark does our best to ensure that in our children and youth spaces and in our adult spaces, we're sharing proper history.
From having a living museum this year for Black History Month to integrating African American history into scripture, Pointer and leaders of his church are prioritizing keeping the story alive of those who have overcome systems of oppression.
But I am not worried because I know that God ultimately has the last say. And that God is on the side of the oppressed.
History is all around us, in our families, in our communities, everywhere we look. And I really encourage my students to bring that knowledge into the classroom and test it against academic knowledge and see where it fits.
Now, both say there's no doubt that in the future we'll all be looking at the ways we're teaching civil rights history and African American history, and that it will continue to evolve and change in how it's being taught over time.
I loved what he said. History is all around us.
Yes.
Yes.
And it encourages to come into the classroom with an open mind.
Yes.
To be available there.
Facts are facts. They happened, and tell the story.
Yeah.
Love it.
And history is happening right now.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about right now, what's happening with schools. They'll be talking about it in 10 years, 15 years. So it's going to continue to happen.
In the books.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or tablets, laptops,
Whatever
whatever
is
they're
happening.
using.
Yeah.